Jack and Lyra stood in the great hall as dawn light filled the tall windows. Soft gold and pink hues glowed on the polished floor. After the long night of repairs, both felt heavy with fatigue. Lyra turned to Jack, her face calm but curious. "The underground chambers hold many survivors," she said. "We should bring them here, to safety and fresh air." Jack nodded. He touched the hilt of his blade. "Guide me to their exit. I will lead them up." They walked through silent halls, Lyra's hand resting on the corridor wall for guidance. Jack kept his senses alert, listening for movement. At a junction they paused. Distant echoes came from below. "They wait for hope," Lyra said softly. Jack smiled. "We bring it now." She pressed a symbol, and a hidden door slid open. Stairs descended steeply. Torches lit themselves as they passed, casting warm light on pale stone. At the bottom they found a cluster of weary figures. Civilian soldiers and crew in torn uniforms, eyes wide. Lyra stepped forward. Faint fear turned to relief in their faces. She raised her voice in the silent chamber. "I am Princess Lyra. This human has saved our ship's power core and beacon. He will guide you to safety. Trust him." Jack moved among them, offering words of comfort. He pointed to the hidden elevator behind a tapestry, its metal cage hung on steel cables. He tapped a control panel, and it descended. One by one, the survivors stepped in. Some looked at Jack with gratitude. One old engineer held out a trembling hand. Jack gently helped him inside. Lyra followed, watching quietly. When all boarded, Lyra pressed a panel. The elevator hummed upward. Jack felt the lift of hope alongside him. At the top, the cage doors opened into the garden courtyard. Fresh air and sunlight greeted them. Survivors gasped, covering mouths with hands. Jack dropped to one knee. He offered water from his flask. Lyra ordered servants to bring blankets and food. Quiet chatter filled the courtyard as people drank and ate. Laughter returned in soft murmurs. Jack and Lyra found a marble bench beneath a flowering tree. They sat together, watching the healing begin. Jack spoke first. "Your people are strong. They will rebuild." Lyra nodded, her eyes bright. "They will, with friends at their side." Jack looked up at the rising sun. "And I will help you." Lyra turned to him, her voice gentle. "You are far from home. Will you stay?" Jack thought of Earth. He thought of family. But he also felt purpose here. He stood and offered his hand. Lyra accepted. Together they walked into the courtyard, side by side, ready to shape a new dawn for both their worlds. Jack woke before dawn. The first light slipped through the palace windows. He stretched and walked to the open balcony. The air smelled of morning dew and fresh flowers. Lyra stood nearby, watching the garden below. She looked calm but thoughtful. "Good morning," Jack said quietly. Lyra turned and smiled. "I sleep little these days. I think of what comes next." Jack nodded. "We have much to do. The survivors need food and shelter. The power core must be repaired, and the enemy fleet may return." Lyra sighed. "We cannot wait for threats. We must act now." They walked down the marble corridor to the strategy room. Maps of stars and fleet movements covered the table. Civilian officers waited, tense. Jack and Lyra entered side by side. Captain Torn, a tall man with scarred cheek, spoke first. "Princess, our scouts report life support failing in 2 sectors. We need engineers." Jack looked at the map. "We can send teams with portable power units. I can guide them through the corridors." Lyra studied the chart. "And our defenses? The intrusion may be more than a raid. They could attack our home." Jack placed his hand on her shoulder. "We have hope. We stand together. We can prepare a defense grid. I will help calibrate it." Officers murmured in agreement. Lyra cleared her throat. "Jack Miller will lead the engineering teams. I will command the defense preparations. Captain Torn will coordinate the guard. We move at first light." Dismissed. Jack and Lyra returned to the courtyard. The survivors moved freely now. Children played in the grass. Parents tended small gardens in pots. Laughter filled the air. Lyra looked on. "Your people know how to rebuild. They find life in ruins." Jack smiled. "Humans adapt. We make home anywhere." A small girl tugged at Jack's sleeve. Her eyes wide. She pointed to a broken column. "Can you fix that?" she asked. Jack knelt. "I will fix it, I promise." The girl giggled and ran back. Jack looked at Lyra. "We start here." "One small fix at a time," Lyra nodded. She placed her hand on a marble block. Her crown glowed softly. The block floated and fit back into place. Civilian guards gasped. Jack watched in amazement. "You have power I barely understand." Lyra touched the block. "I learned control. Your presence gives me courage." Jack offered his arm. She took it, and together they walked among the people. Survivors bowed and thanked them. Bitterness melted in their eyes. They reached a small wing of the palace where old machinery lay dormant. Engineers gathered, confused by alien controls. Jack studied the panels. He showed them how to reroute energy. Lamps flickered to life. Lyra answered questions about palace network. She explained ancient runes that marked safe zones. Engineers worked under her guidance. Hope spread in their faces. An alarm sounded. Jack and Lyra ran toward the control center. The main gate sensors detected ships entering the system. Enemy vessels loomed on the holographic display. And Torin looked grim. "They return." Jack clenched his fists. "We ready the grid. Our teams are in place. We can hold them." Lyra lifted her chin. "Then we fight together, humans and civilians." Side by side. Jack reached for her hand. She met his grasp firmly. Their unity glowed stronger than any weapon. As the first enemy ships appeared on the horizon, Lyra spoke softly. "For our people," Jack nodded, "for both our worlds." They turned to the viewport. The sky darkened with warships. Below, the palace. Defenses hummed. Humans and aliens manned the battlements. Hope and courage burned in their hearts. In that moment, Jack felt his purpose. He would stand with Lyra until peace returned. And she would stand with him, proud and determined, ready to face whatever came next. The calm after the battle was brief. Jack and Lyra woke to urgent calls. The palace network reported strange readings near the energy nexus. Strange fluctuations threatened to overload the power core again. Jack rose and hurried to the control chamber. Lyra followed. The room bustled with engineers and guards. Computers chimed warnings. Red lights flashed on the display. Jack studied the hologram of the core. Tendrils of energy pulsed beyond normal levels. He pointed. "The surge comes from the eastern conduit. We must divert power now." An engineer named Maya tapped commands. "The valves respond slowly. We need manual override." Jack nodded. "Show me the path." Lyra placed her hand on the console. Ancient runes glowed as she read the schematic. "The maintenance corridor runs beneath the spire. Follow me." Guards opened a side door. Jack, Lyra, and two technicians stepped through. A hidden lift lowered them into the narrow tunnel. Sparks flew from broken panels on the walls. The air smelled of ozone. They moved quickly. Jack carried a small toolkit. Maya carried a datapad. Lyra walked at their side, her crown dimmed for stealth. Every step echoed in the long passage. "These tunnels are old," Maya said. "Few know their layout." Lyra looked at her. "I learned them as a child. I dreamed of exploring the heart of the palace. Now I return." Jack smiled at her. "We all find our purpose in unexpected places." They reached the conduit chamber. Massive pipes carried crackling energy. The walls trembled. Jack climbed onto a control platform. He leaned over a valve wheel. Suddenly the lights flickered. The ground shook. A low hum grew to a roar. The core threat was deeper than they thought. Overload sparks arced across the pipes. Jack shouted over the noise. "Connect the bypass line. Route energy to the secondary grid." Maya worked the datapad. The console beeped. Valves opened. Power shifted. Lyra raised her hands. Soft light gathered in her palms. She touched a control glyph on the wall. The glyph glowed and stabilized the flow. A wave of relief passed through them as the energy steadied. The pipes quieted. The chamber lights returned to steady blue. Jack and Maya both exhaled. "We did it," Jack said. Lyra nodded. This is only one threat. The enemy may have sent a spy to sabotage us. Maya frowned at her pad. Sensors show an unknown life sign near the barracks. Jack stood tall. Then we root them out, Lyra. You lead the guard. I will stay here and monitor the core. Lyra placed her hand on his arm. We are stronger together. Bring someone you trust. Jack met her gaze. He chose Maya. Come with me. The group split. Lyra hurried to the guard post above. Jack and Maya stayed with the engineers. He studied the hologram again. The core was stable for now. We must run diagnostics on all conduits. Jack said, find any weak points. Maya tapped her datapad. I will run a full scan. Minutes passed. The engineers worked silently. Jack looked at the readouts. A new surge spiked near the far side of the ship's spine. The shock line. He grabbed a datapad. I need to see that chamber. Maya paused her scan. It is behind the weapons store. Security. It's tight, Jack nodded. I have access codes. Come with me. They sprinted down a brighter corridor. Guards at checkpoints paused at their badges. Jack flashed his pilot credentials. They passed swiftly. At the weapons store, a stern officer blocked the door. Jack showed his credentials. The officer's eyes flicked to Maya. She scanned the codes. He stepped aside. Inside, racks of plasma rifles glowed under white lights. Jack moved past them. A side door led to the shockline conduit. Jack and Maya entered a small room. Thick cables crossed the floor. A control station sat unattended. The screen showed unstable readings. Maya tapped a panel. This is the breach. Someone tried to drain the shockline to blow the power core. Jack's jaw set. We are closer to their plan than we thought. He opened his toolkit. He replaced a damaged circuit. Sparks flashed. Maya guided him through the repair sequence. Jack tightened screws and reset fuses. The screen shifted to green. The breach sealed. The conduit hummed a healthy tone again. Maya looked at Jack. They wanted to cut off our defense grid. They plan to attack when we are vulnerable. Jack closed his toolkit. We warn Lyra, then we prepare for battle. He and Maya left the chamber and raced back through the weapons store. Jack paused at the edge of the corridor. He saw Lyra's guards in formation ahead. They walked with her toward the throne hall. He called out, Princess! Lyra turned. Her crown glowed. Softly, she came to them. Jack reported the sabotage and the breach. Lyra's face hardened with resolve. They strike at our heart, she said, but we stand ready. Torin, gather your best fighters. We defend the palace. No one enters unnoticed. Captain Torin saluted. We obey. Lyra looked at Jack and Maya. Thank you have saved us twice. Jack shook his head. We saved each other. Now we save all. Lyra placed her hand on his shoulder. Her eyes were full of pride. Lead the engineers tonight. Prepare barriers around the core. We cannot fail. Jack nodded. He and Maya hurried back to the control chamber. Engineers welcomed them with nods. Jack oversaw the strengthening of the defenses. Maya directed power ROUTEs all through the night. They worked. Lyra toured the walls with her guards. Sirens sounded as sensors found more intruders. Guards captured them before they reached the inner sanctum. Dawn approached again. Jack and Lyra met on the palace balcony. Fatigue marked their faces. The sky was clear now. Birds flew above the palace spires. We held them back, Jack said. Lyra looked out. But this war is far from over. Jack took her hand. I will stay by your side. I have not seen such courage before. Lyra turned to him. And I trust you more than any civilian knight. Together we will protect our home and find peace for both our worlds. They stood together as the sun rose, ready for the challenges ahead. The courtyard was alive with rebuilding. Survivors carried stones and tools. Gardens were replanted. Sunlight sparkled on new glass windows. Jack and Lyra walked among the workers. Lyra spoke softly with engineers. Jack offered guidance to those who asked. We need to reinforce the wall here, one young soldier said, pointing to a cracked arch. Jack knelt and examined the stone. He took out a tool from his pack and tapped the arch gently. It hummed, he said. This alloy strip will hold it in place. We bolt it along the curve. The pressure will shift to the braces. Lyra watched him work. Her eyes reflected pride. When he finished, she clapped once. The stone arch glowed faintly and held firm. Well done, Jack Miller, she said. The soldier bowed. Jack stood and scanned the courtyard. Distant thunder rumbled through the sky. Lyra frowned. A storm is coming, she said. It may wash away our progress. Jack looked up. Gray clouds gathered. He felt wind on his face. We must protect the new walls and tents, he said, and gather everyone inside. Lyra nodded and raised her voice. All hands to the shelters. Move quickly, servants sounded horns. People paused their work and hurried to covered halls. Jack and Lyra ran to help. Rain began in heavy sheets. Wind howled through the open gates. Jack tied down loose boards. Lyra stood at the entrance, holding her gown tight. She watched the rain batter the walls. Inside, survivors huddled. Candles flickered. Jack and Lyra entered the main hall, drenched but safe. Lyra moved among the crowd, offering words of comfort. Jack helped warm water for everyone. In a corner, a young child shook with fear. Jack knelt and spoke softly. Storms pass. The sun will come back. Hold my hand, we wait together. The child squeezed his hand and quieted. Lyra joined them. She smiled gently. You are brave. I see your light in the dark. The child looked up at her crown. Her fear eased. Outside, the wind and thunder raged. The hall walls creaked. Jack and Lyra listened for breaks. But the reinforcements held. Hours passed. Rain slowed to gentle drops. Dawn broke with a pale glow. Survivors emerged to assess the damage. The walls stood, the tents safe. Gardens had some washouts but could be restored. Jack and Lyra walked out together. Fresh puddles reflected the sky. Lyra touched the plants. New buds peeked from the soil. We have weathered the storm, she said. Jack nodded. And we will weather more if we stand as one. Lyra turned to him. We need to send word to our allies. The beacon is ready, but we need more help, Jack agreed. He led her to the control chamber. At the console, he tapped commands. Ships on distant horizons blinked alive on the screen. They answer your call, he said. Lyra studied the ships arriving. Healers, builders, diplomats. Her eyes filled with relief. Thank you, she said, her voice soft. Jack smiled. We are a team. Lyra held out her hand. He took it. Together they watched the new fleet approach, ready to bring hope and healing to the civilian empire once more. The morning sun rose gently over the restored gardens. Dew sparkled on pale blue petals. Lyra stood by the edge of a calm pool. Her reflection shimmered on the glassy surface. She cupped her hands and touched the water. The cool liquid rippled. Jack approached quietly. He carried a small tray with tea in clear cups. He set the tray on a smooth stone nearby. He handed Lyra a cup filled with warm, fragrant tea. She drank with small sips. He watched her, his expression calm and kind. The new ships will arrive soon, Jack said. They come with healers and builders. Your people will have help to rebuild whole cities. Lyra nodded. She set her cup down. We have suffered much, but we have hope again, human and civilian working side by side. Jack smiled. Together we are stronger. They walked along a narrow stone path. Bright flowers lined each side. Survivors tended the plants. Some paused to greet them. Lyra smiled and thanked each one. Jack offered gentle nods and words of praise. At the far end of the garden, a marble statue had been erected. It showed Jack standing with Lyra, their figures side by side, hands joined. A plaque read, Unity in Fierce Times. Lyra pressed her palm to the statue's base. Soft light glowed from the stone. Your face will live in our hearts, she said. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. Your strength inspires me. You lead with courage and kindness. Lyra looked at him, her eyes shining. She gently shook her head. You saved our world. You are the hero. Jack looked away, modest. He said, I did what anyone would do. I saw people in need. I helped. Lyra squeezed his hand, then she let it go. She led him down a gentle slope toward the landing pad. The silver ships glided down from the sky, their wings wide and graceful. A gentle hum filled the air. One by one, they landed, their hulls glowing in the morning light. Healers in white coats stepped out carrying medical kits. Builders followed with tools and supplies. Diplomats in formal dress waited with scrolls and gifts. Survivors cheered and clapped as each ship touched the ground. Jack and Lyra stood together at the center of the pad. Lyra raised her hand to the crowd. A hush fell. She spoke in a clear, steady voice that carried to every ear. Friends from distant stars, I welcome you. Today you bring your skill and your hearts. Together we will rebuild what was lost. Together we will forge a new age of peace. May our worlds stand together as one. A roar of applause rose. Survivors wept tears of joy. Healers hurried to care for wounds. Builders opened crates and set up workstations. Diplomats bowed respectfully to Lyra and to Jack. Jack stepped forward. He spoke softly but so all could hear. I came here as a stranger. I found a home. I found people in need and answered their call. Now you come with hands ready to heal and build. Let this day mark the bond between our peoples. Let no fear stand between us again. More applause and cheers followed. Lyra placed a hand on Jack's arm. She leaned close and whispered, "Thank you." Jack nodded. He felt a quiet warmth in his chest. He watched as healers moved among survivors, tending wounds, sharing water, offering kind words. Builders began planning new rooms for the palace, workshops. To replace lost ones, gardens filled with rare flowers. In the weeks that followed, the palace and the hidden chambers rose again from ruins. White marble corridors gleamed in fresh light. New halls opened for music and art. Fountains flowed with clear water. The palace gardens bloomed with flowers in pale purple, pale blue, and pale cyan, echoing the colors of distant skies. Jack and Lyra spent long days walking side by side. They visited each workshop and each healing tent. They listened to stories of loss and triumph. They offered comfort and guidance. People of both worlds learned each other's language. Children skipped along corridors, their laughter echoing like bright chimes. One evening, Jack and Lyra climbed to the palace tower. They watched the twin moons rise over the horizon. Stars glittered above like distant jewels. Soft wind brushed their faces. Lyra spoke first. Soon your journey home will begin. Jack looked at her. I have work to do on Earth, but I will return. I will keep the promise I made, Lyra smiled. Her crown caught the moonlight. The Civilian Empire will always welcome you. You belong here as a friend and as family. Jack reached to take a small box from his pocket. He opened it to reveal a simple ring made of silver and blue crystal. He turned to Lyra and offered it. Will you accept this as a token of my gratitude and my friendship? Lyra's eyes softened. She took the ring and placed it on her finger. She held out her hand so that the moonlight caught the crystal's facets. I wear it in honor of our bond, she said. May its light guide us always. They stood together, silent as the night embraced them. Below, lanterns lit the gardens, where survivors and helpers walked and talked under the moons. Hope and peace filled the air. In the days that followed, Jack prepared his ship for the journey home. Lyra oversaw the final celebrations. A great feast was held in the newly rebuilt hall. Tables overflowed with foods from both worlds, roasted vegetables, sweet fruits, spiced breads, and glowing blue nectar in glass ets. Dancers moved to gentle music under floating lanterns. Jack and Lyra stood together, watching the joy around them. Lyra turned to Jack. Remember this night, she said. When strangers became friends and friends became family, Jack nodded. He closed his eyes for a moment. He whispered, I will carry it in my heart, always. When dawn came on the day of departure, survivors and helpers gathered at the landing pad. Lyra and Jack stood before them. Lyra raised her hand in a final salute. Go with our blessing, Jack Miller of Earth. Carry our story to the stars and tell them we stand united. Jack stepped into his ship. He looked back at Lyra, standing proud and strong. He spoke into his ship's coms. "Ready for launch?" The engines ignited with a low roar. Jack watched as the palace below shrank beneath the twin moons. Lyra waved until the ship rose above the clouds. Then she lowered her hand, her eyes on the rising sun. Jack single quotes S ship jumped to light speed. Bright stars streaked past. He thought of Lyra's smile, her calm voice, and the promise of return. He folded his hands in his lap and closed his eyes. Far below on the restored world, Lyra stood at the palace tower and looked to the bright path in the sky. She whispered, "Until we meet again, Jack Miller." And so the bond between human and civilian grew strong, a living hope shining across the stars. Proof that kindness and courage can bridge any distance.